Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me here at the Open Locket. And today the reason I made this video, was because I've been tweeting a little bit. I actually really like Twitter, and I do have a Twitter account on the Open Locket. It is under the name of Open Locket, and I really just wanted to I got this tweet about how contraception is actually. I'm trying to get it to come up on my phone because I just hit a button here. How and it says contraception access increases abortion, and here's the proof. So I wanted to kind of quickly read through it. I want to make this as short as possible. So I'm going to go over it, and it's from. Oh no, come on, my phone's kind of silly. Okay. It's from Abby Johnson, Confessions of a Former Planned Parenthood Director. And, yeah, okay. So we've all been had. Even top pro-abortion leaders are now admitting the obvious, that contraception actually increases the abortion rate. So her story says, sorry folks, contraception access increases abortion, and here's the proof. Every time I post something on my Facebook about abortion, there will be inevitably be someone who makes a comment that says something like this: "Don't women know how to use birth control these days? What is wrong with them? With so many birth control options these days, no one should ever have an abortion." Sounds like an interesting way of putting it, but here's one thing that I notice in the industry, and she doesn't go with it, she doesn't mention this in her blog here, but one thing that I notice is I've heard so many times that people are always talking about, when people find themselves pregnant or you hear someone's pregnant, somehow someone always blurts out something about, well, didn't they use, protection? And I don't know what it is with the majority of most people, but somewhere in the lie of all this, people started to believe that contraception is like 100% guaranteed not to get pregnant. They never ever say that, though. They've never said that, but somehow the idea of having contraceptives, birth control, condoms, whatever else, right? That somehow that became 100% proof you're not going to get pregnant. You have a less likely chance of getting pregnant, but it still doesn't mean that you can't get pregnant. You don't get thrown in the bucket of possible pregnancy. And for some weird reason, people just always use the protection thing as their excuse for saying that someone shouldn't have gotten pregnant. And it's funny, women are always the one to get blamed when we ourselves can't get pregnant by ourselves, right? We have to have the male involved in order to do that. So technically the male gets us as women pregnant. So I just thought I'd kind of clear that up a little bit. But then her report still goes on to say, I suppose that it really is common misconception that birth control reduces the abortion rate. But is that true? Look at this quote from Anne Fioretti, the former director of British Pregnancy Advisory Service, which is Britain's largest abortion provider. Often, arguments for increased access to contraception and for new contraceptives technologies are built on the assumption that these developments will bring down the abortion rate. The anti-choice movement counter that does not seem to be the case in practice. Arguably, they are right. Access to effective contraception creates an expectation that women can control their fertility and plan their families. Give that expectation, women may be less willing to compromise their plans for the future. In the past, many women reluctantly expected an unplanned pregnancy would lead to maternity. Unwanted pregnancies were dutifully if resentfully carried to term. In days when sex was expected to carry the risk of pregnancy and unwanted children was a chance women took. Today we expect sex to be free from risk, and unplanned maternity is not a price we are prepared to pay. It is clear that women cannot manage their fertility by means of contraceptive alone. Contraception lets couples down. A recent survey of more than 2,000 women requesting abortions at clinics run by BPAS, Britain's largest abortion provider, found that almost 60% claimed to have been using contraception at the time they became pregnant. Nearly 20% said that they were on the pill. Such findings are comparable to several other similar studies published during these last decades. It is clear that contraceptives let couples down. The simple truth is that the tens of thousands of women who seek abortion each year are not ignorant of contraception. Rather, they have tried to use it. Indeed, they may have used it and become pregnant regardless. Here's a statistic from the Guttmacher Institute, Planned Parenthood's research arm. This stat makes Planned Parenthood look terrible, so I can't imagine that this is not accurate. They have absolutely nothing to gain by putting this out there. More than half of women obtain abortions in 2000, which is 54%, have been using contraceptive methods during the month they became pregnant. How is it that abortion supporters understand that birth control does not reduce abortion, yet pro-lifers don't? Birth control was created so that we could separate sex from procreation. That is key right there. How do we not get that, pro-lifers? When you separate the act of sex from babies, of course abortions are going to occur. Let's look at the quote from Rosalind Polak-Petz. I'll try to put the name down. Famous abortion supporting feminist. Until a perfect method of contraception is developed, which will probably never happen, periods of heightened consciousness and extended practice of birth control will inevitably mean a rise in abortion. In a book written by Petschke, she comments on the research of demographer and feminist Susan Scrimshaw, who linked rising abortions to wide acceptance of the birth control pill. But Scrimshaw reminds us that the pill, as more effective method of reversible contraception than women have ever known, contributed to a climate of expectations that women need not and should not have to fear an unwanted pregnancy. Having a baby when you didn't want to become unthinkable for new generations of women or for other older generations in new stages in their lives. This changed consciousness undoubtedly contributed to their rising abortions for women who did not use the pill as well as those who did. And then she goes on, I'm not saying that you should only have sex when you're fertile, but to be perfectly honest, you should only have sex when you are open to life. Because believe it or not, babies are many times a result of sex. And that's the way it was intended to be. Look at these studies and articles are showing that as contraceptive rate increase, abortion rate increases. And she gives some information. Bottom line, contraception does not reduce abortion. You may say, well, I'm on birth control of XYZ health problem. Okay, I wrote an article specifically for you, so you can view that here. The greatest news is, that's an article that she wrote. I'm not going to get into it right now. I didn't even read it yet. The great news is that you don't have to use birth control to space your children. Naturally, family planning works and ineffective, and sometimes more effective than the birth control methods out there. Check out these websites for more information. So she just kind of goes on to that. But what I found the most interesting about that entire thing, which it's funny, and she questions us as pro-lifers, that how is it we didn't understand that the minute something very new in the entire world. It just happened in the last, 40, 50 years ago, maybe 60 years ago. I don't even know when the pill actually came out. But that started a whole new thing, that you have now created two types of sex. And I don't mean male and female. I mean fun sex and baby sex. And I find that to be really, really interesting, because the minute it obviously makes sense that now all of a sudden abortion went sky high, because there were times we had sex just to have fun, and we chose, and then oops, we got pregnant. Since that wasn't supposed to be the case, I guess it's real easy to just throw it away. And I just wanted people to understand that it's really an interesting concept, how we have decided that how we're going to take control of whether or not we want to have children or not, or when we want to have children. And I really do believe that one of the largest reasons why God does not let it be 100% was because, number one, he didn't make it that way. Number two, he also, it's kind of his way, I think, of saying, I'm in control. That I'm in control of who is going to have a baby. No man is going to be able to say that we can stop you from having a pregnancy just long enough until you're ready to decide when you choose to have a baby. And the other thing I want to also mention is, I knew someone who said they knew someone from two people who were married who chose not to have kids, and they, for some reason, both of them had decided to cut their ties and everything, so that they could just have fun sex their life. And somehow they still wound up with a baby. I know that sounds unreal. You probably think someone was lying, but I actually kind of believe it to be true, because I do believe that God specifically is just telling you he's in full control of who gets babies, when they get babies, and no one else is in control of it but him. And so I just wanted to put this out there as quickly as I could. Sorry, my videos are sometimes a little bit long, but I wanted to put that out because, I don't know, I was just really shocked when I read that, and it made sense. The minute we separated fun sex and baby sex, and just decided when we were having the fun sex and somehow we wound up in the baby sex, it's very easy that people simply take it into abortion. And I just thought that was, it was right. It was right. The whole idea of this entire thing. So anyone who's having sex should really always be open to life, because nothing is 100% except not doing it at all, right? So thanks so much for joining me here at the Open Locket. Please put down your comments at the bottom. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you think this is spot on, or whatever you can say, whatever you want to say. And if you have any questions, I'll definitely answer them. Also, subscribe to this channel for more information and other things like this. And share this video. Share any video on my site, really on my channel if you want. But share it to just let other people know about it. So thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.